And we're live. Hi, welcome everyone. It's another episode of Building Svelte Society, where we build the new Svelte Society website. Before we start, I want to do an audio check. Can everyone hear me? And can everyone hear Simon?
Test. Can you hear me? And is the volume the same? So I think that's also important.
Yeah, for sure. So let's wait a few seconds to see if someone should be able to hear us at least, hopefully. All right, so you're a bit on the lower volume.
Okay, so maybe if I go a little bit closer to my mouth, is it better then?
I think that sounds better. All right, cool. So let's start. So today we are going to explore the language tools and TypeScript, which is not my forte. So I have Simon here, or Doomdy-Doom, which is his I guess nickname, and he's the perfect person to help me out here, I think. All right, so Simon, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Simon. My nickname is Doomdy-Doom, and I'm the maintainer of the language tools repository, which basically most of you use the VS Code extension, I assume. So that is part of that language tools repository. And I also worked on other tooling stuff around that, like the Prettier plugin, or recently a bit on the ESLint plugin. So basically all this IDE tooling around Svelte. And I have a passion for TypeScript, and so I hope I can help you out with that today.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that. So what do you do besides Svelte stuff? What's
I'm currently at a company called Axo. That's like a software development and consulting company in Germany. We do also work with all sorts of clients, like the government, but also banks or I don't know, big and small. It's very diverse, and also the projects are very different from each other. It's backend stuff, but also front-end stuff. We also did some Svelte already, but mainly it's internal business apps, and Angular is quite big there. So most of my projects, I have to confess, I actually like Angular. So I mean, most of my projects were with that.
Where's the kick button? No, I'm just joking. So should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here we are. Here's my VS Code. It's empty. I still have the mono repo. I've deleted the old sites one. I'm gonna create a completely new one. So we're gonna start with that. Is the sizing okay for people? Can you see what's written on the screen? Let's hope so. So let's call it site. And we want to proceed, of course, and we want the skeleton project, I guess. And yes, we want to use TypeScript. ESLint, yes. Prettier, I guess. Let's use everything. It's so easy to use this nowadays. Like I remember when I first started using Svelte, it was a bit rough around the edges to get started. Like you had to muck around in that, like the roll-up config and all that stuff.
Definitely so much easier right now with that setup.
All right, let's see. Oh, I need to go. npm install probably before I do try to run it. cmdm dev. Yes, there we go. All right. And we should have a project. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Here is it. Here it is. It's pretty small. How do I zoom in? Oh, that should be fine, right?
This is gonna win in a design award for sure.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we have a new project, and we talked a bit before about going through a couple of things to check how we work with TypeScript in Svelte. So TypeScript, before we start, maybe we can talk a bit about like are there any things that are missing in the Svelte implementation of TypeScript? I guess that doesn't make sense. Like features of TypeScript that are missing in Svelte is probably a better
features in TypeScript that are missing in Svelte. So
or the other way around, like are there things you can't use TypeScript for in Svelte yet?
Okay, yeah, so I think for the most part you should be good, because most of the day-to-day tasks are easily solvable right now with TypeScript. You can annotate your properties, you can type the events if you want. The slots should be inferred, so the type of slots should be auto detected. Auto completion works for properties, for events, for slots, or for lets of those slots. So I think for the most part, it's a great experience all around. There are some missing things. I think the main part might be that you right now can't use TypeScript types within the markup. So you can only use the type annotations within the script tag, but you can't do them in the, I don't know, you open the mustache tag and you can't do like something as type. That doesn't work yet.
Okay.
So hopefully we will have that someday, but yeah, right now it isn't. What's a little bit clunky sometimes is this is one of the clunky things. So the interaction within Svelte files is very good, so you can jump around, but to make TypeScript aware of Svelte files inside TypeScript files, that is a little bit harder, because technically you have to do some kind of TypeScript plugin, and there are some technical limitations with what you can do. So the experience is not as good there. So what you just did is enable the TypeScript plugin, which then enables TypeScript to see, okay, if I import something from Svelte, it knows, okay, there's actually a file of that type existing, and if you then type the props wrong, for example, it will also know that inside the TypeScript file, not only in Svelte files. But for example, if you update that Svelte file, you have to save that Svelte file to disk in order for TypeScript to then know, oh, this has updated. So this is one of the limitations of that TypeScript plugin. And to fix that, you would have to dig deep into private APIs of the TypeScript code base, and things could break at any point. So yeah. But for the day-to-day work, I would say TypeScript support is pretty good. Overall, the IntelliSense support is pretty good.
Yeah, cool. So let's do something. So I guess we can start with like a simple button component with just a prop or something, and see how that works.
Yeah.
So I've created a folder called lib here, and then I'm gonna create component, and I guess we do script with lang ts, right?
Yeah.
So
Right,
I
so-
noticed that as well that
Yeah.
before you could type it out like TypeScript. Is that
Yeah, well,
changing?
you can do the so before you could also you can already you can do for the language tools for the IDE you can do TypeScript, but Svelte is using Vite under the hood, and Vite has only support for checking if the script tag is of TypeScript by checking lang equals ts. So this is the only thing that works for Vite-based projects. So this is
Interesting.
why this is the new default. It's all
That makes
internal
sense.
stuff, but the summary breakdown is use lang equals ts, and then you're happy.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So I'm just gonna type out like a super simple button here. Button. The text is comically large. Like I can. Border none. Border radius 4 pixels. I guess padding like 12 pixels, 16 pixels maybe. Gonna close this. Maybe that's better, right? Now we can see both the beautiful website as well as the text here. All right. So orange and color white. And then we'll have class warning, I guess. Oop, what happened?
The closing tag was missing.
Oh, right. And then we need a like this. Is that it? Or is it a big B? TypeScript is
So
not
that so there are a few built-in types, and the built-in types are lowercase first. So there's Boolean,
gotcha.
there's string, there's number, there's null and undefined, and any and unknown. I think those are all the built-in types.
Yeah. So
primitive
that maps,
types.
Yeah, so that maps kind of to the way Svelte does components and elements, I guess. Anything with a capital one is a component, and
yeah, sort of.
anything
So
you make
everything.
yourself.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can make a lower capital interface yourself, but I guess that's then you're going to confuse a hell lot of people.
Yep. All right, so we have this button here, and but we also have this slot property here. Is there a way to type the slot? Is that...
So what do you want to type the slot from? Because right now it's just that there's a slot and you can put anything in it. So there's no need to have this typed.
Right, but can I have it so I can only put in text, for example, or is that... I guess that'd be hard.
Yeah, that doesn't actually... No, that's not supported. So you can't say like, I only expect this type of slot content. That's not possible.
All right.
Good question.
Yeah, I have no idea, so I'm just going to bombard you with random questions here. Live button Svelte. And then we have our button here. Some text. All right. Where is it?
I think you have to type lib without the $sign. So in the no, not in the import, but in the
of course.
in the right in the folder itself. And now we have to
reload
fix
everything.
the syntax error in index Svelte. There's a missing colon.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's...
So and then there's already the first type error, which is correct because it's telling you, hey, you're missing a property. You said that you're expecting a property called warning, but you're not passing one. and it then says a property warning is missing in that type. So you have to pass it in. And
Right.
if you now we have two ways to fix this. Either you say, oh no, I want this to be optional, or you say, okay, this is actually required, and then you need to pass the prop. So what's your
Yeah.
desire?
So looking at this, I'm thinking ahead a bit, and I'm probably going to add a couple of more states, right? I'm going to have probably a success button, and I'm going to have a like an error button as well. So is there a way to maybe combine those into having one like a type property and then having a few different, I guess, words instead?
Yeah.
Would that make sense?
So like export let type, and then you want
Exactly.
yeah.
Something like this.
So this is right. So you can do this. You can use union types for that, and union types are that you say, okay, this type can be either this one or this one or this one.
Yep.
And you can use this in combination with just string literals. So you can say this is this string literal or this string literal or this string literal.
So how would I do that?
Yeah, just like you started with the colon, and then just say warning, and then you do a pipe single
Single
pipe
pipe.
operator. Yeah, and then you just type out right warning, error,
Right.
whatever you want.
Well, success was the last one, and then I guess do I make it null or do I need to initiate it, or I guess if I have to make this.
If you want to have this optional, then you need to initialize the variable, and then
Right.
you have to think about, okay, what's the default. So maybe if it's none of these, maybe you need another one like default or
Standard or
primary or
default.
standard or something like that. Yeah.
Primary sounds good.
Yeah.
And do I
So
just...
this is actually a case which I like this discussion right here, because to me this showed one of the things I like about TypeScript, that you are thinking about the possible ways to lay out your component up front, because you thought about, okay, maybe I need to set this to undefined or null, and then you thought, okay, but maybe it's better to have the default value as one of these types to better type it out, and then it all feels better in the end. So like hard to express.
No, that makes sense. All right, so we'll just remove this warning here. All right, so before we continue, there are some questions in the chat here, or at least one. So someone's asking, can I type a child component passed as a child through a prop?
Can I type a child component passed as a child through a prop?
So I'm saying just passing in a component as a prop, I guess. So
yeah, you can do that.
So
that is possible. So I mean, it's
like Svelte component or something.
Right. So by that you would. Yeah. So by that you're saying I want to this property expects an instance of a Svelte component, right. But you are likely, I mean, 99% of the type you rather want the constructor type. So no, the Svelte component was right, but you need to tell it that you expect the constructor type,
Gotcha.
not the instance type. And so the easiest way would be to just put type off in front.
So like this
type off, right? So that way you're saying like, okay, this is the type of a Svelte component, which means this is the constructor type. The alternative would be to do new colon the constructor parameters, and then
this sounds very complicated compared to this one,
etc. Yeah. So I say this is probably the quickest way. And if you want to, I don't know, restrict this to a certain type of component, like it has to be a component that expects certain input properties, you would then have to do this new thing, and then you could use Svelte component type, which you can pass generics to, which is an
Right.
advanced type topic. And so, okay, maybe
Yep.
I'm
I'm gonna get there
going
at
away little too
sometime in the
Yeah.
far future. I'm gonna
right.
get there. Let's continue with the button.
Yeah.
All right. So we have this type here, and yeah. So is this the way I would do it?
Right.
I
So
guess-
by that, right. So this way you would say this property is now optional, which means
Yeah.
you no longer have to pass it in if you use that component.
So where's the? I know
so-
there's a question mark involved here.
No, you don't need that. I mean, this is all a little different in when you use a function parameter, or when you use
Right.
a interface definition with a property, you would use that colon. But because we use the export syntax to define properties, marking something as optional means doing the equals and then initialize the value. So by doing the equals default, you would have the property marked as optional.
Yep.
And now that you have removed it, it would be required again.
Yep. So I guess this would work, right? And then it should scream at me for something.
Yeah, because you have removed the equals default, so you have to,
So I'd have
use
to
the
do
type.
like this.
Right.
Yay! It works. All right, so we have our button. Now we want to do something with it. so, I've done some TypeScript with Svelte, but I always have to like look up stuff because I'm not very comfortable with it. And so, one of those things is like a. So if I wanted to do like a writable store, like how would I type that in Svelte? So let's import I guess writable from Svelte store. All right, so I have this this store here. Let's call it count. I guess that's an easy way. And it's a writable, and it starts at 0. All right. So how do I type this to only allow numbers, for example?
You actually already did. So TypeScript is smart enough in this case to know, okay, you passed in. So the writable function is written in a way that the initial value becomes the value that can be passed into update and set from now on. So if you do count.set and then pass in a string, you would get an error because it says, hey, this is only allowed of type number.
That's neat. That's neat.
So this works for most of the time. Maybe in some of the, I don't know, maybe you pass in maybe you have a writable that can be either undefined or a number.
Yep.
Or something like either a number or a string. Let's make it either a number or a string. But you have to initialize it with one of them. And so then TypeScript can't know that string is also allowed when you pass in number first. So this is where you have to then pass in the generic. A generic is basically something you tell that the writable expects a certain kind of type or say certain kinds of types, and you have to type that out to make TypeScript aware. Okay, string is
that
also
makes sense.
So, and you do that with these tags.
Yeah. So this is the the thing that scares me with TypeScript. There's a lot of characters all over the place, and I don't understand them. But yeah, so could this could be something like you could liken it to maybe passing in a parameter to a function, but the function is a type in this case, and the parameter is well, not a type. I guess. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like a function parameter that you're passing into whatever this is, but it's not really a function parameter.
Yeah, kind of. It's like I mean, it's a generic parameter. I don't know. I have a hard time explaining generic itself without actual usage.
All right, let's use it then.
Yeah. So right. So this is basically again a union type. Right, so you already know the pipe, and then
so it's the same.
Yeah. So then you say, okay, it's either number or string. So if you do now set it to a value like hello, it's okay.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's actually have it on screen as well, so we can see our beautiful text. All right. So something I've seen as well is that you can also import something called Writable.
Right. So this is basically the type that is returned from the writable function. So if you call writable, the thing that is returned is this writable interface. So the writable interface defines the return type of the writable function. And if you are creating a
update.
Yeah, right, the set and update and so on, and you can also pass the generic to it to restrict the type. You can pass the set and update and so on, and
so that's
you can use that.
Right? The generic.
Yeah, right. That's the generic, right?
Gotcha.
And yeah, you can use that. I don't know, to create your custom store. I don't know, implement your own update and set function, and to ensure that you are implementing the contract that Svelte expects. Or you can use it because, I don't know, you're returning a writable from a function and you want to annotate your function return type right in the function definition at the top. So these are cases where you could use that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a super simple custom store maybe. Let's see if we can do that. Let's do it here. That's probably easier to do it in a new file. So let's do a custom store that has like an extra function on it that just adds 5 instead of set or update or something. Right. We could use increment, I guess. That's the example on the not JS. Sorry about that.
Habits die hard.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, we can also talk a little bit about maybe we can go back to the button Svelte later on. I mean, to talk a bit about how you could also get type benefits without using the TypeScript types by using JS-doc instead, because I know that some people really despise TypeScript, so
so you can at least get the benefits.
Yeah, right. The benefits without the syntax overhead.
Let's do the count thing here. So all right. So what's this?
Yeah, that's you have to use an import or export, and then this arrow will go away. You can ignore it.
So I guess we'll import Writable from Svelte store. Is it the same?
It's the same. Yeah, it's from the same import path, and it's now screaming at you because it says, "Hey, Writable is a type, and you're only using type imports, so you need to prepend that with a type. So you can do a type in front of Writable."
Gotcha. So here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a pretty new feature. This This was released in, I think, TypeScript 4.5. And actually, Svelte and Vite were the main drivers of this implementation, because
Cool.
we need to exactly differentiate which ones of these are a value import and which ones are type imports.
Gotcha.
And so TypeScript
So-
actually added support for that.
So this makes this possible pretty much.
Yeah.
or-
Right.
Yeah.
So this makes it possible to TypeScript then knows without looking at anything else. Okay, writable is a type. I can remove that, and writable. Then there's another flag which tells TypeScript to always preserve value imports, because by default TypeScript will remove all unused imports.
Mhm.
But for example, when you're inside a Svelte file and you pre-process the TypeScript part of it, then TypeScript will only see the script contents. So maybe you have
Right.
something imported that you use in the markup, but
Mm.
TypeScript doesn't see it. So it thinks, oh, this is never used, I'll remove it.
Yeah.
So
And everything breaks.
right, and everything breaks. And so
Yeah.
that's the new preserve value imports flag. This was introduced because of situations like these. Not only Svelte has this problem, other tools have this problem too.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
to make the import typing a little easier, they then also introduced this type prefix thing.
Type thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we have another question in the chat here. What's the difference between declaring the type on the left side of the equals sign versus the right side with the writable? So I guess that would be like you would do this.
Yeah. So this would be a different
Number.
way to do it.
String. Is that
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. That should also. I think.
I guess I need to import it, right?
Yeah. You need to import it.
Right.
And
yeah.
so this works too. So these two are equivalent.
All right.
I mean,
So-
this comes down to preference, I would say.
Yeah. So what's is there a heated debate all over the place about what you should do here?
I don't know. I think it also comes down to where you come from. So at my at work where we use Angular, some developers which come then from a Java or C# background, they tend to type everything out. So I don't know, on the left-hand side, there's a writable initiated with a number, and we know this will only accept numbers. So I don't need to write a type there because TypeScript can infer this for me. So I don't need this. And
Right.
me personally, I prefer to type as little as possible. So I only want to type as much as that TypeScript knows what's up, and I have to help here or there to tell it this is this type, this is that type, and then let TypeScript figure out the rest, so I don't have to type that much.
Yep.
But if you're coming from a Java or C# background, old habits die hard, and then they all
You have to
type
type
out
everything.
they type everything, and yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's start here. So I guess we need a function of some sort, right? And initial value, and that should be a number.
Right.
Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
all right?
Um,
Cool. And then we're also returning. What is it? Oh, we need the writable first. Const count or store, I guess, equals writable initial. So is this would be a place where some of those people would they would type this as well, or
Yeah, this would be a place where some of the
So
people
they do
type it as well, and
number?
yeah, or they
Yeah.
would even do before the equals time, before the equals sign, like colon, writable,
Right.
capital W, a W, and so on and so
Right.
forth. So I mean, I can, if you're working with such a code base, I can relate to people who say that TypeScript is way too much boilerplate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of also what scares me with TypeScript. It's a lot of extra writing, but maybe I've only been looking at projects that have done that. Yeah. All right. So we have this store. I guess we can destructure it even. So set update and what's the other one? Subscribe, of course.
Yeah.
And then we return set update subscribe. Cool. What is going on here? Cool. All right. Cool. And then I wanted to add a function as well. So I'll write this function that increment, and it doesn't take anything. So do I need to type that?
No.
Because that's a no. And then
if you don't
just
add any parameters, then TypeScript knows, okay, this is a function that accepts 0 parameters.
So something like this. All right. So we have a simple function that increments the value by 1.
Yeah.
So then I add this here. So I increment. Yeah. All right. Now what? Do I need to? How do I ensure that this that everyone knows that there's always an increment function here? I guess that's automatic even.
Yeah. In this case, for example, this is one of the cases where you don't need to annotate anything. This then comes down to preference. Some people say, okay, functions are like boundaries and I want to type all the inputs and the return type. So you can see at a glance without looking at the implementation what's there, but you don't need it. In this case, you don't need it. TypeScript will know that it returns a increment function.
So, but let's for not JS. Old habits die hard.
You don't have to. The .ts is.
Oh yeah.
You have to omit that. Yeah.
All right. So now we have stuff going on here. We've imported our count here, but yeah. So let's go back to the function here. So yeah, how do we do what you just said?
Like annotating the function. Yeah. So basically, every time you annotate anything, it starts with a colon, like with the function parameter you did, colon, and then you enter TypeScript land until there's another character which ends TypeScript land, so to speak.
All right.
So and you do the same for the return type. So you would do after the closing parenthesis, right? Okay. There you would do a colon, and then you would do writable of type number.
Yeah. So like that.
Right, and now we also have to tell it that we want the increment function. So there are 2 possibilities, I would say, to make this happen. I prefer the interface way. So this would mean we would create an interface, which we, I don't know, call countstore, right?
Yeah.
And then you would do extends writable number inside the before the opening.
Sorry, extends writable number. Yeah, of course.
And this tells TypeScript, okay, this is a new interface which, well, extends from the existing interface. So all properties are also present on the countstore, and now we can additionally add the increment function. So you can just type out increment and then colon, and then do either you can do function with a capital F, which would do like, okay, this is a function that is anything, but we can also type this more strictly by doing parenthesis open, parenthesis close, equals tag, closing tag, like this without space, and then void.
I see.
And this tells TypeScript, okay, this is a function that expects no parameters and returns nothing. And now we can use that in
There
that
instead.
area. Yeah. And then it's a count store.
And now I don't even have to.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because you already did that in extents.
Yeah. So let's say I guess this could be fun to do. So let's say I wanted to pass in a function into my store that also gets returned in some way. I don't know why I would do that. Maybe I wanted to add like a increment 10 function, let's say. How would I pass in, like how would I optionally add the ability to pass in a function into my store? I guess.
So that you can
Does that make sense?
then use it in the
Yeah.
return. Okay, so the easy way would be to make this a to make this an additional. Okay, let's see. We can do this and we can do that. So this is one of the cases where maybe you're hitting some of the limitations of what you can express with TypeScript, because maybe you're saying, okay, no, this doesn't work in JavaScript either. So, okay, so let's say this function. I mean, you can't define the. You could define the type, the name of the function, but let's, for simplicity's sake, say that the additional function will always be like my custom function. So you always have to do my custom function or something like that. Or do you want the custom function to be like, I don't know, I pass in a custom function and I give it a name and I want to use that name on the store. Is it that what you want? Ooh. Because then this would get even trickier.
Right. No. Let's continue on with something else.
Okay.
This is probably too advanced for this short session.
I think,
especially for my brain as well. All right.
These things are possible theoretically, but then this is really something. Yeah.
So someone in the chat is saying, can you make the count store type generic? Something like interface count store T extends writable T.
Yeah, you could do that. So if you wanted, you could make the count store generic. So now that there's a T, if you use T there, then TypeScript says, okay, cannot find name T because T is not there in the interface. So you have to tell the interface that it expects a generic, and you do that by appending count store with a open tag T closing tag. So by this you said count store has a generic parameter, and then you directly are using it inside to pass it on to writable, and then you can also use it in other places. So yeah.
All right. Cool. I think I'm starting to get a hang of this. At least a small bit of it. All right. So Gabriel.
I mean, this is quite advanced stuff already. I mean, generics are not that often, I would say.
Right. Yeah. So Gabriel is asking, how can I set TS to never throw errors? Instead, just warn about types.
Well, you you can't tell TypeScript to not throw errors when it encounters a type error. But what you could do is to just ignore them in your build and to continue building anyway. So, for example, if you are building a SvelteKit app and there are type errors all over the place, but the resulting JavaScript would be valid, then TypeScript will still be able to put out the resulting JavaScript. So this is a separate process. The one thing is that TypeScript says, hey, these types are incorrect. This is semantically wrong. And the other thing is that it still knows, okay, I can just strip out all the types and then compile this to plain JavaScript. This still works. So you can have a SvelteKit app with your IDE full of errors, but you could still build it. That would be possible.
That sounds horrible. Yeah. So another question here is what's the font that I'm using, and it's called Dank Mono, I think. Type like this.
Damn.
Which is a weird name for a font, but yeah. Okay, so let's try working with with an action maybe, since I think we only have like 5 minutes to go. Let's see here.
Signature Kevin move.
Yeah.
Building an action.
It's just what I do, you know. All right, let's do the classic click outside. All right, so I have some notes here. That's a cheating thing. All right, so for those of you that don't know what actions are, they're pretty much I think Penguin put it pretty nicely yesterday, and he said they're lifecycle methods for elements, which is kind of fun for HTML elements. It's a nice description. All right, so we have another question here. What are .d.ts files used for, and do we need them if we work entirely with TypeScript?
So .d.ts files are files which only contain type definitions and don't contain implementation. So you don't have code that is actually runnable inside them. You only have, I don't know, interface definition and type definition and many
so
other
put
things.
This here, for
right.
example.
So you could put that in a count.d.ts file,
Gotcha.
for example.
So is that a way for like kind of structuring like what your data looks like, and
yeah, you could use it for that.
Place?
Right. You can. So I think the two most common applications are either you want to define some ambient types or global types, I would say. So this means that in a .d.ts file, if you don't export or import anything, this file is treated as globally available. So everything you type in there, like declare interface something, you can use something without actually importing the type. It's
right.
available globally. And SvelteKit actually uses this to type stuff and so on, like in the app.d.ts file, a little bit below.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So this is one of the ambient file definitions. So there's a namespace called app, and inside that namespace there are interfaces for locals, platform, session, and stuff. And you can use this to tell TypeScript or to tell SvelteKit that every time you access the stuff store, for example, that the stuff store is of the type you define in here.
Right.
And so you can globally define what the stuff store looks like. And so, yeah, this is the case where you want ambient definitions.
Yep.
And the other thing where you often use it is in JavaScript code bases. So when you work with JSDoc annotations instead of TypeScript. And some of the more complicated types, they are very hard, or in some cases possible to type with JSDoc.
Gotcha.
So you place them in a DTS file, and then you can import them from import the type and use it in other places.
Yep.
So these are the two most common applications for DTS files.
Speaking of JSDoc, should we do what you
Yeah, maybe we can do
suggested
this
earlier?
right now. Yeah, right. So I spoke about that you don't need to use TypeScript to type your components. And so, for example, right now we are using colon and then warning or error or success. Maybe you can just copy paste that, and so yeah, right, all this, and then just remove it. Everything yeah, right, and instead use a JS doc in front above the type. So you do a slash and star star, and right,
Oh.
and then you press that
Yeah.
that was correct already. Star star, and yeah,
Yeah.
right.
All right. Yeah.
And then to tell TypeScript, or this is a JS doc is a standard that is not just it is also used and recognized by TypeScript, but it's a standard beyond TypeScript, so it can be used in other circumstances and is understood by other tools besides TypeScript. And to tell TypeScript that this type is of the type we just had, we do a add type.
Like this?
Yeah, and then you do a the what's it called? The parentheses, the
This one?
curly braces, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you just paste your
Like
that
that.
in. And when
And then
you
I could remove
right,
this,
and you would need to remove lang equals ts, because inside TypeScript types, JS doc types are ignored. So
Right.
So this
So
way
if
you
I-
can keep using TypeScript, and it still will tell you, okay, this is a button which has this type.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
So this is a nice little way how you can gradually introduce types to your code base, or just type the things you care about most and keep the other stuff untyped.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, do you think we have time for the action?
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
we have to do it.
It's an action.
It's an action.
All right. So, I'm just gonna type out the boilerplate here. All right.
It's like in cooking shows when someone goes to the oven and says, I have prepared something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pulls out the finished cooking.
Yeah, it's almost finished. We just need to write it. Okay, so we want this to do stuff whenever you click outside of whatever it is that you attach this to. So I guess we first need the node here. And do I need to type this as an HTML element, or
Right. Yeah, I mean, you would, because it's only valid on HTML elements, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
All right. So this won't be inferred because it's an action or anything. It's just like,
Yeah, you have to type this out. So
yeah. Okay.
I mean, basically you can use anything as an action, and then the language tools will then see if the function you pass as an action actually satisfies the action contract.
Right.
So if the first parameter isn't an HTML element or something more specific, then it will tell you, hey, no, this won't work.
This is wrong. Yeah. All right. Okay. Cool. Let's see. I'll just copy this in because we're a bit short on time. Ooh. Oh, this looks horrible. What did I do?
It seems like
Okay.
Prettier is not working
Yeah.
on your TypeScript files.
No clue why. Let's see here, and then we have this. All right. So I'm just going to remove this comment here. Okay. Cool. So, I guess the question here would be, since this actually let's actually use it first. That's probably a good idea to like show people what's happening. Click outside. Was it no, one from lib click outside. All right, and then we can put it on this one. Click outside, and then we have an event on. What was the outside click? All right, cool, and then we can do just something like alert. Hello. All right. Count is not a store. All right. Let's remove the count stuff. All right. So so we attached it on this this element right here, and then we click outside. Something happens, yeah. So we have an event here.
Right.
How do we type the event contents? Does that make sense as a question?
You mean that that the code base knows there's an outside click event and what type it is of. So
I guess so. So I guess if I did something like this, I don't remember how the custom event syntax is, but it's just like count one, something like this. Is that right? No.
I think it's detail. I mean, we can just do click outside without any parameters. I mean, this is
okay.
because the solution is I'm putting you a link which shows how to do this. Nope, that's not it.
So the question here is, what's the extension where your editor is suggesting what symbols are being expected as you type? I guess that's just the Svelte extension.
Yeah, that's just the Svelte for the code extension.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay.
Right. So the outside click. The problem with this is that when you're using TypeScript, there comes a predefined types for valid elements and the valid events and attributes on them. And custom events are not part of that. So the pre-made type definition doesn't know that there's an outside click event on this thing. And this is where we have to help TypeScript to know that this also exists. And this is actually where we use where we need to use a DTS file.
Oh, so, excellent.
Yeah.
So where do I put this?
We can just put this in the app DTS file we already have.
All right. Yep.
So, and what you then need to do is to tell the language tools in this case that there's another attribute or event in this case that exists. And you do this by doing declare namespace. So you type out declare namespace.
Oh, I can't type declare. Oh, there we go.
And then you do svelte .gsx, right? This one.
Yeah.
The GSX part will be gone sometime soon, so don't worry about that horrifying acronym. And then inside you do interface HTML attributes with capital right, with then a generic of type T.
Yep.
And right, and then this one, and then you do on click outside, as on, and then the name of your event, and then you outside click.
Oh.
Outside click. Yeah. And right, and then colon, and then you tell it that it's custom event of type void. So you can do custom events. This is a global type that is part of the global definitions of TypeScript, and then you do custom event is then again a generic. So you do tag void closing tag to tell it that you don't add any details to that custom event.
Yep.
So and hopefully, if you save this, I hope that I didn't talk. Okay, on outside click. So what's the error there?
Well,
it's
an error.
Okay, now it's telling you the tab void is missing the color from custom event detail. Oh yeah, it's not of type. It's right. It's not of you. You pass in a function that expects a custom event as a parameter and returns nothing. So we do event in the custom event thing inside a custom event.
Gotcha. So custom event any.
Right, and you have to do the. You have to do the. Right, you have to do the void thing outside of the parentheses, and
like that.
And you have to tell it that the syntax is wrong inside the
here
parentheses, because you have to do parameter colon, so that it knows, okay, this is a parameter of A. Okay, so now you're saying that now you're saying that there's a parameter custom event of type any.
Oh right, yeah. So wait. Let's start over.
You're doing like event colon and then custom event of type any.
Oh, like this.
This is this is a regular function parameter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right. So and this should be the right typing. So now you see the error is gone, because now the language tools know, okay, there's also this additional type definition, and this silences the error.
So what would happen now if I change something here? It would show an error saying that there's no event of this name, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's nice. Cool. I guess that's a nice ending to my intro to TypeScript 101. No, this was great. Is there anything else that you want to?
We dug way deeper than I expected, so it's.
Yeah. But it's like, I think it's just like basic types, and like I think that stuff is often you kind of grasp that pretty quickly. I think most people at least do. But then when you get into like these like brackets and all of this stuff, you just get like what is going on.
Yeah, the first few weeks will mainly be battling the syntax. So, okay, where does this colon belong now? Oh, is the thing in front or after my variable? And so after getting used to that, it's it gets easier.
It gets easier, yeah. So before we end, is there anything else that you want to talk about, like with regards to what's coming, what are you working on right now?
So what's coming? There's a I just told you that the JSX thing in the namespace will no longer be necessary soon. That is because currently working on a new transformation for the Svelte file. So how this all works under the hood is that in order to we basically we forward all the contents of a Svelte file to the TypeScript to a TypeScript language service, which then does all the hard work of doing autocompletion and so on. But in order to do so, we have to transform a Svelte file into something that TypeScript can understand. Not just the script contents, but also the things inside the markup. like, okay, there's a variable inside the mustache tag and so on. So we need to, under the hood, transform Svelte files into something else. And right now, that transformation actually is that it's transformed to JSX. And
Yeah, right. It's an extra step there that we probably don't need.
right,
Well, we need it now, but
we need it, but the new way to do this is not to transform it into JSX, but regular JavaScript or TypeScript. So we still need to do a transformation that way, but the transformation is now different. And this should get rid of some things where people said, why is this error telling me something about JSX? I'm not working in a React project. What's this about?
yeah,
Or
I came to Svelte because
yeah, right.
JSX.
Why is this haunting me?
Yeah.
So, and this new transformation, it's all under the hood. You can try it out by activating a setting in the VS Code extension. It's called use new transformation. And if you set that to true and then reload or restart the Svelte language server, then the new transformation is used. So this is not the default, because I want to give this some more time for the brave beta testers to try it out and provide feedback before
Makes
then
sense.
flipping the switch and then eventually removing the old transformation altogether. So this is what I'm mainly working on right now. And so, yeah, if any one of you want to try it out, please do, and report feedback. I'm eager to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you posted on Twitter as well.
Yeah, right.
Asking about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question here. Do you know when the Svelte docs and tutorials will contain all this information? So I think a lot of this has to do probably not with the Svelte docs, but more with TypeScript, maybe. I don't know.
It's not
a combination.
That. Yeah, it's a combination. I definitely want to enhance the Svelte docs at some point. To give more space for TypeScript specific things, like if you want to type your events, what do you need to do? Because these are things, if you don't know, you may have a hard time finding out. Other things, like the basic things, like you do a colon and then there's a type afterwards. These are basically, this is all TypeScript. So if you are new to that, just do a TypeScript tutorial and then come back to your Svelte plus TypeScript code base, and then you should already understand much more, because we're not using anything that is not valid TypeScript.
Makes sense.
But definitely the Svelte docs need some more TypeScript specific content. That is for sure. Yeah.
I guess it's also like stuff like the thing we did last year with the action, right? Or the event there. That's
right.
It's hard to figure out if you don't know where to look.
Right now, that's hidden in a docs README inside the language tools, but it would be much better if that would be part of the official docs.
Yeah. So I just posted that link in the chat there for anyone to, if you want some light reading tonight. All right. Thank you for showing me this stuff. I'm sure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It would be cool if you could come back when I had some more.
Sure.
Some better TypeScript skills, and we can do some more cool advanced stuff.
Definitely.
But yeah, so where can people find you online?
Yep, on GitHub through my handle dumdydum, and on Twitter it's the same, just with an underscore at the end, because someone who never tweeted took that handle already.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll post a link in the chat as well for that.
Right.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone for joining us. Next week we'll talk about Figma and designing stuff in Figma correctly, I guess. So that'll be fun. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.